Last time, the jungle claimed another brother. Danny's blood traced the shape of a bell into the earth, and the toll marked us. 4 had fallen. Red grew stronger, carried by the curse instead of carrying it. James wrote prophecy in his own blood. Luis's ghost whispered numbers in the dark, and the woman in brown appeared again, her hand never pointing at Red, but always, always at me. We thought the war was against men, but the truth was sharper. We were fighting the count itself, and the ledger was not finished. Now, in the shadow of the door, the curse demands its final payment, blood or truth. And Michael Turner must decide whose life will close the account. The jungle didn't sleep. It only pretended, the way killers pretend kindness. By the time we stumbled into another clearing, Danny's wound was festering, James's pencil nearly chewed through from his own teeth, and my ribs still ached from Red's last blow. But Red looked stronger. The sack never left his shoulder, and with every mile it seemed to feed him. He tossed the sack down in the dirt, coins clinking like laughter. "We can't carry Danny anymore," he said flatly. Danny lifted his head, pale, sweat dripping. "You can't mean that." Red crouched, eyes level. "I mean we leave you, or we put you out of your misery. Either way, less weight." Luis would have fought him, but Luis was already gone. Only his ghost seemed to linger at Red's side, smirking in the corner of my eye, whispering, 3. "Touch him and I'll kill you," I said. Red grinned. "Then kill me. But you won't, Turner. You're too busy carrying ghosts." That night, he played with us. He strung wires in the trees, booby traps pointed inward. He cleaned his M60 with the patience of a priest polishing relics. James scribbled, muttering, "The king tightens his noose, makes his crown from bullets." "Read it," Red demanded. James ignored him. Red slammed the notebook shut, nearly snapping James's fingers. "Read it." James's eyes burned. "I write for the curse, not for you." Red's face twisted. He backhanded James, hard. Blood sprayed across the page. James didn't flinch. He dipped his finger in the blood and wrote, 4 weights. At the edge of camp, she stood again, the woman in brown. Red saw her this time. "You following me?" he snarled. "Watching me? You want what I've got?" He lifted the sack toward her like an offering. "It's mine!" The woman only tilted her head, eyes burning. For the first time, she raised a hand not toward Red, but toward me. Red noticed. His grin cracked. "Her chosen boy, not me? Not after all this?" His voice shook with rage. He turned the M60 toward me. "Then I'll fix it." Danny groaned, dragging himself upright, Bible in hand. "Don't do this, Red." "Stay down, preacher," Red hissed. "You had your God. This is mine." The muzzle of his gun stared at my chest. My finger slid to my trigger. For a heartbeat, the jungle leaned in, eager for the shot. Then James spoke, soft but sharp. "If you kill him, the story ends with you. And the curse doesn't want an ending, it wants chapters." Red froze. The words cut deeper than bullets. His laughter came broken. "Then maybe it wants another death before his." I didn't sleep. None of us did. But in the black hours, when the insects sang louder than thought, I felt movement. Red, creeping through camp. M60 slung low, knife in hand. He crouched beside Danny, raised the blade. I lunged. Our bodies crashed in the dirt, the knife slicing past Danny's throat by an inch. Red roared, swinging the butt of his rifle into my skull. Sparks exploded behind my eyes. We grappled, rolling into the mud. His breath stank of metal and rot. "You can't stop it, Turner. You can't stop me." The sack spilled open. Coins scattered like fireflies. Each one rang, high and shrill, a chorus of bells. Danny crawled toward us, bloodied hands pressed to the ground. His voice rasped prayers, broken, desperate. One coin rolled to his palm. His blood smeared it red. The jungle hushed. The woman in brown stepped forward. Her eyes glowed, reflecting the coin in Danny's hand. Red shoved me aside, grabbed the M60, and fired straight into Danny's chest. Danny jerked, coughed blood, eyes wide. The coin clattered from his palm, landing in the mud. Where his blood touched earth, lines spread, curling, arcing another bell. Bong. The sound rolled through us, heavier than any shell, louder than any scream. Danny slumped, Bible slipping from his fingers, pages drinking mud. His lips moved one last time. Forgive. Then, silence. Red staggered back, chest heaving. He was weak. He was dead already. Better this way. But his voice shook. His eyes darted. The sack on his shoulder pulsed like a second heart. James wept openly now, writing blindly. 4, he muttered. 4 has been written. I stared at Red, hatred boiling. I could end him then. One shot, one trigger pull. My finger tightened and froze because the woman was watching me. Her hand hovered between me and Red, as if daring me to choose. We buried Danny shallow, like the others. Red refused to help. James pressed the blood-stained page of his notebook into the dirt. Luis's ghost lingered at the edge, silent. That night, Red sat apart, sack against his chest, whispering to it. Not words we could understand, just sounds, broken syllables. The language of greed turned into prayer. Every time he laughed, the coins inside chimed like bells agreeing, and I knew then, Red wasn't just carrying the curse. The curse was carrying him. 3 friends gone, 4 bells tolled, and the jungle was still hungry. The first letter came from a bank I didn't remember opening an account with. A cream envelope, neat type, my name Michael H. Turner centered like a verdict. Inside, a notice about a safe deposit box I'd been paying for, quietly, for years. The fee had auto-drafted from a savings account that never ran dry the way ordinary accounts do. I stared at the paper as if it were a photograph of me I'd never posed for. Dad? Lily said over the phone when I told her. That's good. You said you wanted to get organized. Jake texted, instead of calling, send me key and paperwork. I'll handle. Handling is what my son does when he wants what isn't his yet. I went alone. A clerk with careful hands led me into a cold little room that smelled like copy paper and locked air. The box slid out on rails. Inside lay a folded strip of red cloth, the weave tight and old-fashioned, edges singed. 5 coins, dull until the light found them. One side, a king with his eyes gouged neat. The other, a bell. James's notebook, the leather warm the way memory is. I hadn't placed the coins there. I had thrown the only one I'd ever handled back to the river years ago. Yet here they were, stacked in a quiet little tower, like a story pretending to be small. I closed the lid. I opened it again. The coins remained, patient. The red cloth held a smell like incense that doesn't belong to churches here. I pressed my thumb to a coin. The metal was cold and a little softer than it should have been, as if it had learned to take a thumbprint and keep it. I walked out of the bank with the notebook tucked under my arm and the box relocked. The manager asked if I wanted to close it. I said no. At home, I made a trust, not for me, for the children. I called it the Willow Creek Trust, a name that sounded like a lake where boys fish summers they'll remember fondly. The attorney, a small man named Klein with a large conscience, asked what I wanted in the purpose clause. Mercy, I said. He waited. I told him to send a portion to my kids, a portion to their kids, and a portion to a fund with no name yet that would someday quietly rebuild a village on the other side of the world. He didn't ask why. Sometimes lawyers know when a question would steal the little dignity a man has left. I added one condition the kind people call eccentric until it makes them angry. Distributions only if the heirs visit their father once a month, in person, without asking for money while they're in the room. Klein raised an eyebrow. Enforceable enough, he said. I handed him a small brass key on a string. I kept the other key taped inside the back cover of the notebook. I didn't tell him about the coins. I told myself I was protecting my children from nonsense. The truth wore other shoes. Lily visited, Jake calculated. Dad, you're doing the right thing, Lily said, pressing her head to my shoulder as if I were still taller than her. She's a nurse. She can smell a wound from a hallway away. But please, no more secrets. Jake came by with a spreadsheet and a smile that hurt to wear. Optimizing passive yield, he said. You know, tax loss harvesting. Let's move your house. Market's hot. Where would I live? I asked. With family, he said, not answering. I kept the house another year. Then a winter squall ripped shingles like paper, and the furnace died in a breath. Jake stood in the kitchen that had been new when I was 12 and said, It's time, Dad. We can place you somewhere safe. Lily agrees. Lily did not agree. She said nothing in front of him and everything after. They moved me to a community. The brochures showed sunlight like milk, poured into rooms with smiling men in sweaters. The carpet smelled like bleach and cordial defeat. The elevator dinged like a bell trying to be polite. In the first week, 3 different aides called me hero. In the second week, one of them asked if I could please keep my night episodes quieter. In the third, Jake brought a notary. Just housekeeping, he said, sliding papers across a laminate table. Titling the trust under my management so you don't have to worry. Management, I repeated. It's a fiduciary role. He had learned the language of custody from men who don't love the things they own. I signed the medical proxy. I didn't sign the rest. Jake tapped the stack, smiling the way people do when a dog won't come inside on a rainy night. We'll come back to this. When he hugged me, something hard in his jacket pocket tapped my sternum. A small round thing in a pouch. He patted it without thinking. Later when he left, when the elevator dinged and my room remembered it was a room I knew what it had been. A coin. Money does not end a curse. It funds it. Jake's first distribution bought him a car better than his life. The hood caught sunlight and threw it down the block as if wealth had learned how to move. He posted a photograph. Chin up, grin wide, a caption about legacy. That night he called me from an emergency room. An Uber grazed us, he said, voice light. Airbags saved small fracture, no big deal. Which wrist, I asked. He went Kiat. Left. How'd you put ointment on the rash when it blooms? I said before I could stop myself. Won't help the counting, but it'll hurt less. He hung up, furious in the way a man gets when his father knows him better than the mirror does. A month later, he moved me from the nice wing to the almost nice wing because cost centers, and a month after that, he sold my house. Lily stood in my room with a box of what she could rescue and said, He staged it while you were here, did you know? I signed no deed. I said, Power of attorney, she said, and the way she didn't look at me told me which signature was mine. Jake began to miss visits. He sent me photographs instead. His boy at soccer practice with a gold-painted participation trophy. His wife holding a gold balloon shaped like a number. A new watch on his wrist with a gold face that made his skin look sick. When he did come, he brought a bag of groceries, as if apples could argue with guilt. He stood, restless, in the doorway. You should get out more, he said. There's a garden. There's a fence, I said. He looked at the notebook on the table. Still writing your war? Maybe burn that. Fresh start. I don't burn ledgers. He glanced at the closet. You still keeping that stuff? He meant the box I'd smuggled here under a blanket the day I moved in. The bank's brass key, quiet on its string. Which stuff? I asked. He laughed, good nature practiced until it became habit. You know the weird coins, souvenir junk? I can get you a great price. Discreet. Who told you about the coins? A looked hurt. You did, Dad. I had not. But the curse had learned how to speak through sons. Lily brought the kids on Sundays. She corrected the nurses when they called my room a unit. She tucked a plant into the light where it would die anyway. Once she saw the notebook open and reached for it lightly, as if touching a newborn. "May I?" she asked. "You won't like it," I said. She turned a page. The last line written there, ink that wasn't mine and wasn't James's, was 5 words. "All gold is paid." Under it, "All blood is told." She traced the sentence with a finger the way a woman touches scar. "I don't know what it means," she said. "It means the bill went to the wrong address," I said. She smiled without much light. "Then forward it, Dad." I laughed, the kind of laugh that doesn't comfort anybody. Working on it. On Thanksgiving, Jake brought the notary again. He set a foil pan of stuffing on the counter like tribute and lifted the pen with a hand that wasn't bandaged. "Let's make this easy," he said. The elevator dinged. The sound landed like a warning in my blood. Behind Jake, for the first time in years, I saw her clearly, the woman in brown. Not at the tree line now, not beside a coffin, but in a hallway painted eggshell, hands folded as if about to pray for the living. Her ow dye flowed as if it had its own weather. She looked at my son, then at the red cloth folded in my open box on the bed, then at me. Jake kept talking. "We're not disinheriting anyone. We're optimizing. You'll be more comfortable. Less administrative drag." "Jake," I said, "what's in your pocket?" He blinked. "Dad." I can hear it. "Put it on the table." He frowned then, as if humor would turn me pliant, produced the leather pouch, and spilled a single coin into his palm. It lay there like a small, heavy sentence. The bell stamped on it seemed to rise as I watched optical trick, bad lighting, and then settled. "Found it in your closet," he said. "Can get a dealer friend to put it down." My voice came out wrong, older, lower, as if someone else in me had stood up. Lily stepped between us. "Jake," she said, "don't." "What?" he snapped too quickly. "It's a coin." "Not to him. Not to anyone," he said, and moved to drop it back in the pouch. The coin sang just once, a thin, bright ding that the notary didn't notice, and Lily did. Jake flinched. He turned his wrist. A faint red bloom had begun just above his pulse, nothing you'd call a rash yet, only a suggestion of shape. A circle looking for its own end. He tugged his sleeve down and smiled too wide. "See? Nothing." The notary cleared her throat. A small human sound. "If we could..." "The signatures?" "Leave," I told her. "I can't notarize outside." "Then don't," I said. And the way I said it made her nod, apologetic, gathering her stamp like a woman withdrawing a hand from a dog's mouth. She closed the door gently. Jake stared at it, then at me. "You're making this hard," he said. "So are you." "Dad, the mortgage on your old place?" "You mean your place." He laughed. But it didn't have legs. "It's called consolidation. The trust will throw off more if we..." "Say the word optimize again," I said, "and watch what happens to you." For a second, he looked like a boy I could still lift. Then he rolled his shoulders, and the coin flashed in his palm, and he was the man who had learned to use good words to fence bad appetites. "Give me the key," he said. "This is stupid." Lily shook her head. "Jake." "Stay out of it," he snapped, and the way her mouth softened told me how many times he'd said it lately. "You don't know what this is," I said. "Then explain it," he said, "without ghost stories." "The gold isn't money," I said. "It's a contract. Every time someone touches it, it writes their name in a ledger that doesn't live in banks. I paid what I could. The rest follows blood." He rolled his eyes. "Dad, look at your wrist," I said. He didn't. He stared at me instead, a new hardness in his jaw. "I'm trying to take care of you. You think Lily's salary pays for a decent facility? You think love buys meds? Grow up." "Love boys visits," I said. "We visit," he said, absurd. "I'm here now." "You visit with papers," I said, "and a pouch." He opened his mouth to say something cruel. Lily beat him to speech. "Let him keep the key," she said softly. "We'll figure out the rest." "We?" he said not softly. You mean you and him against me? The elevator dinged again. Down the hall, a nurse laughed at something that wouldn't be funny by dinner time. The coin warmed to Jake's palm as if answering a grip with a grip. The woman in brown stepped to the side so I could see the space behind her. For a breath, I saw the creek, the boy, the red cloth, the bell on his chest, and then a door. Not the stone one another, ordinary, painted white, with a brass knob polished by hands remembering passwords. Dad, Jake said. Give me the key. No, I said, but I'll give you something else. I opened the notebook to the trust purpose clause. In my crabbed, daytime hand, I had written an addendum Klein had made legal 3 months ago. Should any heir use force, legal or otherwise, to compel distributions, all proceeds redirect to the foundation designated for humanitarian work in Quang Nam province. Under it, I'd added in pencil, not legal, only true. For the village by the creek, for the boy with the red cloth, for the woman who did not beg, Jake read it. His face went pale the way good paper goes pale under a hot iron. You what? You can't? I did. You've lost it, he said. This is elder abuse. Son, I said. And the word felt like a bell you ring at the start of dinner. Abuse is when you hold a pen to a dying man's hand and tell him to sign his name wrong. He slammed the coin into the pouch and the pouch into his pocket. I'm getting a lawyer. Get two, I said. Bring a priest if you like. He spun for the door and stopped, one palm on the jamb, finding breath. He turned back. For a moment, the nastiness dropped out of his face, and I saw the boy who had fallen off a bicycle onto his knees and looked for me before he looked for blood. Why do you hate me? He asked. I don't, I said. I hate what's using you. What's using me is bills, he said, and your stubbornness. He hit the elevator button. The bell dinged. He flinched, tiny, automatic, at the sound. Then the doors opened and took him away. Lily sat down on the edge of the bed and put her head in her hands. He's not a bad person, she said. No, I said. He's a hungry one. She lifted her face. What happens now? Now? I folded the red cloth once, twice, and slid it under the notebook. Now I finished the math. Dad, I have to go back, I said. To Vietnam? She said it like a temperature, testing fever. To the door, I said, or to its shadow. To the place the ledger lives. I don't know if a plane takes you there. You're not well enough. I wasn't well enough the first time. She stared at my hands. She saw that they had steadied. When? When I can walk without the hall moving, I said. When I can hear a bell and not mistake it for the elevator. She nodded. Half nurse, half daughter. What do I do? Keep visiting, I said. Don't let the trust buy you. If Jake calls, tell him the key is with me. It is with you, she said. Lily, I said, look. The other key, the one taped to the notebook's back, was not there. In its place, a faint imprint, rectangular, the adhesive's dust, like the ghost of a stamp. We stood very still. I looked at the closet. My coat hung the way quiet hangs. There was no one else in the room. The air smelled faintly of iron and paper. It moved, Lily whispered. Or it was collected, I said. A soft sound came from the hall, not the elevator. A little bell, clear and clean, like the one under the red cloth on the boy's chest. It rang once, then went quiet, satisfied with our attention. Dad? Lily's voice was small. I'm sorry, I said, and meant it for years. I shouldn't have let any of it follow us home. She took my hand. We'll take it back. Maybe that's not how it works, I said. Maybe you don't return curses. Maybe you starve them. How? By telling the truth where it hurts you, I said. By saying the names until the numbers stop adding. She squeezed my fingers. Then let's start. So we did. We said them out loud, together, in a room that smelled like bleach and old hope and Thanksgiving done wrong. Billy, she said. Danny, I said. Luis, James. We paused. She looked at me. Red, I said. and didn't swallow the anger. The anger had kept me alive. It didn't deserve to stay. The door to my room stood open. The hallway was empty. The elevator kept its own count, dinging for floors that didn't ask. The woman in brown leaned once more in the corner only I could see, watching not with judgment but with the kind of tension of the kind of witness a man wants at his last hearing. Last, I said to her, to myself, to the boy I'd been. She nodded. Outside, snow fell in a way California swore it would not. Each flake looked gold under the parking lot lights. Each flake turned white again before it hit ground. I set James's notebook on my lap and turned to a blank page. My hand moved. For once, the sentence belonged to me. I will pay with truth. My children will inherit only what doesn't harm them. I closed the book. In the hallway, a nurse pushed a cart and hummed. The tune refused to turn into a dirge. On the far side of town, my son stepped out of an elevator into a garage lit like the inside of a coin. He fumbled for his keys. The small red circle on his wrist itched in a way he couldn't ignore. He scratched it. It burned. Above him, a motion sensor tripped. A light clicked on with a sound like a tiny bell. He looked up, startled, as if someone had called his name. Whether he heard it or only remembered how to be a boy, I do not know. I only know the ledger had noticed him, and the ledger did not forget. I checked the string on my thumb. No key. No problem. I had a daughter. I had a list of names. I had a ticket to buy. And the door wherever doors go when they are done swallowing kings had not stopped listening. The flight from California to Da Nang was a coffin with wings. I sat pressed between a snoring businessman and the window shade I kept closed, though my mind replayed a jungle sky from 50 years ago. Every time the engines changed pitch, I heard mortars. Every time a steward dropped ice into a glass, I heard coins. And every time I closed my eyes, I saw the seam of stone, waiting. Lily sat across the aisle. She kept her eyes on me, as if by watching, she could stop the war from climbing back inside my chest. When we landed, she squeezed my hand. "We're here, Dad. You're not 19 anymore. You don't have to carry this alone." I wanted to believe her, but the curse was not carried. It carried me. The land of the dead. Rebuilt. Quang Nam had changed. Neon signs buzzed. Teenagers rode motorbikes 3 at a time, laughing, shouting over the whine of engines. The war was a photograph to them, a story their grandparents muttered about. But I knew better. The jungle doesn't forget. We stayed one night in a guest house with thin walls. I woke to bells in the courtyard, an old man ringing them to call his cows. My body convulsed awake, sweat pouring, convinced it was the toll. Lily held me until dawn. The next morning, we went to the village. The place where I had burned, where Red had killed, where a boy had bled under a red cloth. It wasn't ash anymore. It was color walls painted turquoise, orange, yellow. Children played soccer barefoot in the dirt. But when the ball bounced near me, I froze. For a second I saw not leather, but Billy's skull, rolling. An elder greeted us. His eyes were clouded, but his memory was not. He looked at me long, then nodded. "The door still breathes," he said, in English careful as stone. "It waits." Jake. I should have known he'd follow. We left the village at dusk, Lily and I, walking toward the line of trees no villager crossed. That's when Jake stumbled out of the brush, face flushed, shirt clinging to his back with sweat. "I knew it," he panted. "All these years you had something here, not just ghosts, treasure." His eyes gleamed when they locked on my satchel. He thought the coins were inside. He thought I'd been hoarding. He didn't understand that the true hoard was under the earth, and it wasn't wealth, it was weight. "Jake," Lily began, anger in her voice. He cut her off, voice rising. "Don't play dumb. I saw the notebook, the keys. You think you can shut me out? I'm family. I'm blood. If there's gold, it's mine too." The jungle hushed, as if listening, and then, faint, a bell tolled. Jake froze. His hand twitched to his wrist, where the rash had bloomed. The circle glowed faint red, as if inked under his skin. He jerked his sleeve down, glaring at me. "You did this." "No," I whispered. "You touched it yourself." Ghosts on the path, we walked, the three of us, into the trees, and the ghosts walked too. Billy appeared first, young, mouth full of blood, whispering, "One." Then Danny, Bible pressed to his chest, weeping scripture that the leaves repeated in broken voices. Louis staggered past, his wrist burning like Jake's. He looked at me with betrayal, then dissolved into ash. James scribbled in the dirt with a stick that left marks of fire. "Perfect," he mouthed, and Red, laughing, red hair wet with river water, dragged his sack of gold, spilling coins that vanished before they touched the ground. Jake gasped. "What the hell?" "They're mine," I said, voice shaking. "And now they're yours too." The woman in brown stood beyond them, serene, hands folded, eyes bottomless. She had followed me home once. Now she had called me back. The door, the jungle opened like a wound. And there it was. The door. Roots gripped it like veins. Moss crawled over its face, but the seam still ran down the middle. I had closed it once. I had spoken the names. Yet it waited, breathing. As if 50 years were just one held breath. Jake stumbled forward, eyes fevered. "It's real," he whispered. "Jesus Christ, it's all real." He put his hand on the stone. The seam glowed faint red. He laughed, wild. "It's mine." The woman raised one hand. Her voice came like wind through bone. "Blood or truth?" "One more payment." The bell tolled. Family in the shadow of the door. Lily grabbed my arm. "Dad, don't let it take him." But Jake was already lost. His hand pressed flat to the seam, and the glow spread up his arm. His eyes widened. "I feel it, it's choosing me. I'll be rich beyond," he screamed. The mark on his wrist flared, searing through his sleeve. He ripped the fabric away, revealing the bell fully formed, black and red, burned into his flesh. "Dad!" he shrieked. "Help me!" The ghosts crowded closer, whispering, laughing, weeping. Red dropped a coin at Jake's feet. James scribbled his name in fire. The jungle echoed with their voices. The woman looked at me. Last, I understood. The curse wasn't finished. It had moved into my bloodline, and now it demanded a choice. My son's life or mine. Closing of chapter 15. The seam of the stone pulsed. Hungry. The bell tolled again, shaking the ground under our feet. Lily clung to me. Jake clawed at his arm, eyes wild, begging. The jungle leaned in, waiting. The ghost chanted. The woman in brown pointed. And I, Michael Turner, the last survivor, stood before the door again, forced to decide whether I would pay the final debt with my life or my son's. The door breathed. That's the only way I can describe it. Each time the seam glowed, the jungle shifted as if inhaling. Each time the bell tolled, the roots quivered, exhaling rot. Jake was on his knees before the stone, clawing at his wrist where the black-red bell had burned itself into his skin. His eyes were fever-wide, pupils pinpoints, voice ragged with terror. "Dad, make it stop. Jesus, make it stop." Lily held my arm with both hands. Her nails dug in, but her voice stayed steady, almost whispering, "Don't let it take him, Dad. Don't let it take my brother." But the woman in brown stood silent, her gaze locked on me. Not on Jake, not on Lily, only on me. "Blood or truth," she repeated. "One more payment," Jake's plea. Jake tried to rise, but the pack that wasn't there dragged him down. I saw it plain as day. Red sack of gold, invisible but heavy, cinched to Jake's shoulders. Coins spilling phantom, bright into the dirt. Every clink echoed like laughter. "I'll give it back," Jake screamed. "Whatever it wants, I'll give it all back." "You can't," I said. My voice cracked. "Once you touch it, it owns you." He stared at me with hatred. "Then why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you burn it all?" I had no answer, because part of me still believed truth could outweigh gold, because part of me thought the ledger would forgive honesty. But the bell tolled again, and the jungle said otherwise. The ghost's verdict. They came in a half circle around us. My brothers, my dead, Billy whispering, "One," his eyes gone. Danny, clutching his ruined Bible, lips moving in prayer he no longer believed. Luis, his wrist glowing, voice cracked, "Hermano, don't let it be him." James, grinning, notebook aflame in his hands, words writing themselves in ash, red, soaked, sack dragging, coin pouring endlessly. Debt, debt, Turner. Someone payee. Their eyes fixed on Jake, then on me, then on Lily. Lily's defiance. "No," Lily said aloud, facing them. Her voice trembled but didn't break. "You've had enough. You've taken everything. You don't get him. You don't get us." The woman in brown tilted her head, her gaze finally shifting, briefly, to Lily. She seemed almost curious, but then she looked back at me, always back at me. "Last," she said. "The choice." I knew then what it meant. It had never been Jake's debt. Not Lily's, not theirs. It was mine. The curse had followed me across an ocean. It had hollowed my family, poisoned my children, made my son greedy, my daughter afraid, and now it demanded what I had escaped 50 years ago, my own blood. Jake sobbed, pressing his forehead to the dirt. "Please, Dad, don't let me die. I don't want to die." Lily's grip on my arm shook. "Dad, you don't have to do this. We can fight it." But the bell tolled again, rolling through my ribs like thunder. The door pulsed, seam glowing, a heartbeat not mine. Truth for blood. I stepped forward, peeling Lily's hands from me gently. I knelt in front of Jake, lifted his face in my palms. He was shaking like a child. He looked so much like the boy who once begged me to teach him to ride a bike, so much like the man who now wanted to steal everything I had left. "I love you," I whispered. He shook his head violently. "No, you don't. You always hated me. You let it choose me." "I love you," I said again, firmer. "That's why I'll carry this. Not you." I kissed his forehead. His skin was hot as iron. Then I stood and faced the woman in brown. "My blood," I said. "Take it. Let them go." For the first time, her lips curved, not a smile, not mercy, but acknowledgement. The ghost stepped back. The jungle hushed. The door groaned. Sacrifice. The mark burned onto my own wrist. I gasped as fire traced a circle into my skin, black and red. The bell seared into my flesh. My legs buckled. The seam of the door flared wide. Jake screamed, "No, Dad, don't!" He clawed at me, trying to pull me back. The mark on his wrist faded, bleeding into nothing as mine brightened. The sack slipped from his shoulders and reappeared on mine, phantom weight crushing my spine, coins clanging with each breath. "Dad!" Lily cried, falling to her knees beside me. "It's all right," I told her. My voice sounded strange, hollow, as if the bell spoke through me. "You'll live, he'll live, that's the price." The woman in brown raised her hand. The ghosts bowed their heads. The door yawned open. I stepped toward it. The last march. Inside was the chamber, unchanged after 50 years. Gold gleamed, coffins wept. The statue bled black tears. The pack dragged me to my knees. My blood dripped onto the coins, and they hissed as though quenched. The walls trembled, the bell roared, the jungle screamed. I saw them all, Billy, Danny, Luis, James, Red, standing whole now, not broken, watching, waiting. I turned once, back toward the slit of light where Lily stood, her face wet with tears, Jake clutching her arm like a child. "I promised I'd protect them," I whispered. "Now I keep it." Then the door sealed. Epilogue of Chapter 16. The jungle sighed, the bell tolled one last time. On the far side, Lily and Jake fell to the earth as the seam closed forever. Roots knitting, vines binding, stone grinding shut. Silence. The woman in brown was gone. The ghosts were gone. Only the forest remained. Lily pressed her face into the dirt, sobbing. Jake held his wrist, now bare, no mark, no fire, just skin. Why him? Jake whispered, broken. Lily turned to him, eyes blazing. Because he was our father, and because some debts can only be paid in love. The jungle stood quiet. The door stayed shut. Michael Turner, soldier, survivor, cursed, was gone. But for the first time in 50 years, the curse was not. It was finished.